Good morning, good morning. There is the bell. SPY is testing a critical zone of support here. $650 is in play right now. Be ready, as it's a pretty big zone. We've seen lots of bounces around 650 lately. Looking at it right now, it's the lower end of like our 3-point zone that we've been watching between 650 and 653. So watch this close. If we see a breakdown of $650, here's some point right after open, or even today in general, look at SPY to the downside. The last time it broke under 650, look at the downside move that occurred. This was actually pretty solid. I'm going to go to a 5-minute chart. Now, it doesn't mean that this has to happen again, but we had some negative news that finally got SPY to break it again, and once it broke down, it ended up running down to 644.60, or sorry, 644.70. If we do see it break down, I think you could have a pretty safe move down towards 648 for like a good 2-point drop if we start to see the SPY break through there again. For now, though, it's still holding as support. So we might need to see some news or just get some more bearishness to really get us through. You have to respect those supports until they finally break. Happy Thirsty Thursday, though. The news with Iran has just been deteriorating a little bit. We're just not seeing anything really get done. Iran's rejected Trump's plans. Gulf states have even been talking about going after Iran as well. Trump wants to squeeze Iran into peace talks with more troops, but it may backfire, they said. I'm still wondering if Trump's going to be doing a boots on the ground situation. Boots on the ground. That would be pretty big. Whoa. SPY starting to move lower now to test that zone. Going to be a lot of eyes on tech today, of course. Nvidia is breaking lower already, 1.6%. Helping to add some selling pressure on the SPY this morning in pre-market. Looking at the rest, wow, Amazon at open looks brutal, down 1.5% and pulled back pretty hard there. But yeah, Microsoft, Google, Meta, Apple, all down. Tesla is moving higher though, hitting 383. TSLA doesn't care. I guess technically it's down on the day, but it's been trying to rip it open. Keep your eyes on Tessie. If the overall market starts to die off, Tesla can still react in a negative way below this zone, that's for sure. Good morning, Maddie. Ramirez, Jake, Zoidberg, Suzuka, Almighty J, Manicured, Tangy Man, KNMSO, CT, We Buy Homes, Wes, Maddie G, good morning, good morning. Jake says app, ouch. A ticker symbol APP to the downside. Down 7.67%. Brutal pullback there. They've been pretty weak lately, but they tried to get that uptrend starting, and they're still above the lower end of the base, I guess, which is good, but still not what you want to see on app if you're looking at it to the upside. BLNK, I think, had some earnings. Yep. They're up 6.4%. NEXT is up 9.8% now. Wow. NEXT. Looking great for Next right now. Wow, even Mike talked about Next. Yeah. Leading my watch list today. This was a fire big money trade recently. Consolidated for a few days, but looking really good. Jake. I know, right? RGR. Looking pretty good again. RGR had a great day yesterday. Looking at the 5-minute chart, it's trying to break yesterday's high right now. NEXT. Oxy was looking pretty good. ZM. ZM is pushing up. How about ARM? ARM had that great news yesterday where they're building their new CPU chips. Zoom, though, has been surprising me today. 2.73%. They're still pretty weak in the short term, but they are starting to go. Let's see what we look like on ARM really quickly. What's like a good target? ARM has a history of running up to resistance up here. ARM likes popping within this zone. Go to the 1 minute again with ARM. Sharpie said IBM was going. Looking at IBM, they had that nice pop. Immediately dropped off here the second that we looked at it, though. Of course. LNG is up with next. A lot of the liquefied natural gas companies moving today to the downside. Oh, Pony reported earnings, I believe. Sold off, down 9%. Not good. For Pony, BT, Bit Digital, 8.49% to the downside. How about Coin? How about Arcat and Ondas? Arcat down, ONDS down, UMAC is going to be down too. Yep. DraftKings had a terrible pre-market move. They came back a little bit, but awful pre-market drop. SNDK, SanDisk, fell off pretty hard today, down 5%. Look at the way they're breaking under pre-market lows here. Man, SNDK is starting to really sell off there. That is a big pullback. Hourly chart looks pretty brutal in the short term as well. AppLovin still looks weak. Any relevant reports coming out? No, not really. Not right now, Jake. I wish. There's not really anything, though. If we go to Earnings Whispers chart here, looks like for tonight, yeah, nothing really. Tomorrow, CCL will report. I don't really see that as overly significant, but that is the bigger report here to end the week if we had to pick something. On the economic calendar side of things, there are going to be multiple Fed speakers tonight. From 4 p.m. onwards tonight, Cook, Mirren, Jefferson, and Barr will all speak. Daly will speak tomorrow, so they might say something about interest rates or inflation or the impact of the war on the economy, maybe pressure on consumers with rising gas prices. Yeah, I mean, there's probably going to be a lot of talks with that over the next 12 hours or so. So be ready, but it starts at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So you have some time today. It'll be after hours, it looks like. Palantir, critical pullback today. PLTR just pulled back under 151.80, all the way down to 150. That is a big drop down there. Tangyman said, PayPal of all stupid things is green today. For the first time in how long? Hey, they tried to do this yesterday morning too, Tangy. Oh gosh. They're in a weird setup right now as they consolidate really hard down in the bottom end of this range. But yeah, PayPal has been brutalized here. This is a weird chart. Chart looks strange. You gotta love the COVID stocks, right? They're like Zoom. PayPal and Zoom are like cousins with their COVID chart. Spy to the moon, Jason says. Uh-oh. To the moon, let's see. 653. That phrase to the moon bothers me, but we'll allow it this time. It was only good when Elon said it on SNL. That was it. $653.70 on the SPY, though. It does look pretty solid here. Back above, holding support very, very well at 650. So far, so good. Mason has 654.24 resistance he posted. I see why, too. The low from yesterday was right there. That'll be pretty big. I think that whole range right there between there and 655, the first big resistance for sure. Keep your eyes on that as SPY tries to push here. Mara's going up. Healthy Cooking says. Healthy Cooking. Do you have any good recipes for me? I need some recipes. Just kidding. Back to next. I want to go back to next here. Check back in on it. Still holding up well on the day. Tesla was moving well too. It's back up. Tesla broke the high of the day, pushing to 384. There's a little gap to fill, though, up to 385 as well. Keep your eyes on that gap. I don't know. Seen some thesis about PayPal with some very interesting long-term perspective. I bought a few shares, but so far it's been a miserable investment. I'm on the fence. Double down or cut. Man, if you're on the fence, I wouldn't double down. I'd be careful with something like PayPal, personally. I feel like PayPal's established, and they're established, and I'm not necessarily saying PayPal's gonna like go bankrupt or anything, but is there gonna be better opportunities out there? I mean, it's definitely possible. Definitely possible. Especially with all these other like AI payment processors and people like, let's say, Elon Musk, right? You know, Elon Musk was critical with PayPal. Elon's talking about doing different payment processing now with X, and I've seen other people even mention stuff like that too. Maybe Meta as well. But yeah, I've been hearing lots of things with that. So I don't know. I'm not a huge fan myself of PayPal here. I understand the buy the dip, like the want to buy the dip on it. It's just, gosh, that's a tough one for me. I'd rather go get like LASR. I know LASR is really high, but It's like, you know, you wait for a little dip, maybe grab some of these things. I think they'd be better. But yeah, you know, never bad to go look, right? Let's see how 3M is doing. 3M. Still stuck in its big range past few years. Wow, manicured. Yeah, Dell really is flying. 0.72%. Sorry, I was grabbing a drink there real quick. Yeah, really well. Of course, the second you sent that message, though, they turned over, but had a good morning. Seen lots of people posting about it in Discord as well. Nvidia's trying to make a base here around 175.20, 175.40 to hold. We'll see if it can or not. It doesn't have the best PA overall today, that's for sure. AMD Advanced Money Dispenser popped up and then now has become Money Destroyer. But it's testing the low from pre-market right now, which is going to be a good support for AMD. If we see this give out, though, that's where I think we could watch for that flush lower. And I like being patient and kind of waiting for a flush here rather than watching support bounce higher. Really just waiting for that big thing that kicks the market back down here. But so far, SPY looks extremely strong itself. It's still red on the day, technically 0.4%, but look at how strong it's been on this little bounce starting to play out. Some news just hit that Iran seeks guarantees the war will not be repeated. They said that they want the war to end on all fronts, including even resistance factions. They said the U.S. claim of negotiations is merely a third deception project. See, like, again, like, we don't really know what's going on here at the moment. Lots of weirdness happening. Wow, SMDK still looking good, too. There we go, SNDK. What a good breakdown there. I'm going to go eye up some of the Bitcoin stocks today, like Coinbase, Strategy, maybe BMNR. There was a recent big money trade for puts on BMNR. It looks like BMNR is still moving pretty well here to the downside. If it starts to really flush under this range, that's going to be looking really good here for this big money trade. This big money trade needs to happen quick. I'm going to refresh my trading view real quick. It's lagging on me a little bit. The daily chart on Dell looks amazing. Great uptrend. Looking at headlines on Bloomberg. Trump tells Iran to get serious before it's too late. That was one of the big headlines hitting everywhere this morning, just about. How has oil moved today? Let's see, USO. Little move higher. A slight jump up. Consolidating pretty hard, though. PLTR 150 bounce has been working. 150, nice. Boom. Good bounce back again. Let's go look at Palantir on the 15-minute. Yeah, 150 has been a pretty big range. It extended down to like 149.50 a lot. Oh, it actually did that today too. Extended a little lower. But yeah, I love that. Great bounce back again. Eventually this might break out and it won't keep working. But hey, while it works, keep beating the drum, right? SPY above 654.24. It did get to 654.50 there. I personally have had resistance closer to 655, but I think that it's really just a resistance range, right? Like 654.25 all the way up to 655. Like it's a big 1-point range of resistance. And the reason why I say that is, look at all these hits. They're not always perfect right on that level, but they're close. Normally it's just under, but either way, I definitely still watching that area closely. And what that also is it's going to be the area where we fill the gap from the move lower this morning. Pretty interesting. Like a Shaq dunk? They would need to give up their entire military then? Yeah, this is tough. Extremely interesting here. SPY dropping down towards 653. 650 support as well coming into play. Back down into the chop zone for SPY. Watch 653 here. See if it can hold or not. Ramirez says Netflix is moving. Look at SPY bounce off 653. Holy crap. What a good bounce there. Oh, gosh. Uh-oh. Senior Iranian official said to Reuters, Turkey and Pakistan are trying to help establish common ground between Iran and the U.S. Senior Iranian official, there are still no arrangements for negotiations and no plan for talks appears realistic at this stage. They said, but they did say diplomacy has not stopped, and if realism prevails in Washington, a path forward may still be found. A lot of weird conflicting headlines there, back to back to back. Still no arrangement for negotiations, no plans for talks appear realistic at this stage. Iran's assessment of the U.S. proposal is that it is, quote, one-sided and unfair, close quote, serving only the U.S. and Israel interests. That's probably why the SPY popped up a bit there on those headlines, though. That must have been some very quick algos. That's big. French Navy Chief of Staff said those involved in these talks on the Middle East situation include Britain, Germany, Italy, India, Spain, and Japan. Pretty big list. Degenerate Merc says, I'm not a fan of this type of market. It can be a tough market, but a fun market too. Like if we start to see a big trend and we catch that trend, it's awesome, right? But let's say that you're trading and you're trading a trend, but then out of nowhere, news hits and it just reverses right away really quick. Obviously, in those situations is where I think most traders get burned in these types of markets because you never know when the news is going to hit. And it can flip that direction at any time. Or just, it might not even flip the overall direction. It might just cause a weird volatile candle for a few minutes, and then that's enough to, cause that weird situation. Salesforce is about the only thing green in your portfolio today besides SPXS. Salesforce, CRM, let's see. Wow, that's a nice jump today. I gotta say, Salesforce had a really nice move. They were selling off hard on the daily and bounced right off of 180, holding its ground well. Good move. The only problem intraday for me is that it's testing a big resistance. It's probably going to have trouble breaking out here. Get ready. It might pull back a little bit, given resistance. Chewy had earnings on Wednesday. They popped up pretty well, moving higher. Watch that high of day from Wednesday, right around the high of day today. If we start to see a good push pass there, look at Chewy in the bottom end of its range. It's holding pretty well down here. There's a big gap to fill on the daily chart down to like $17 though, which is a worry for me shorter term. The good news is that we could see a pop back, a retest of 30 to 31, and then a larger pullback. And that's what I would look for, is a retest up there of 30 to 31 before the pullback continues to the downside. If we actually look at the overall downtrend here on Chewy, you can see it lines up pretty well. And like, let's say Chewy does pop here the next few days, it would put it right around 30, touching that line too. So really, I think that's not a bad play off of earnings here. It's an interesting thesis. Post-earnings move. It'd be tough on a stop loss for this one, though. If it started to have meaningful pullbacks under the pre-market low today at 26, I don't know, you'd probably want to at least look at adjusting something. Unless you get more time, but... Thoughts on ARM? Love it. Well, I did love it. Yeah, ARM's still looking great today. It had a great opening move here. It looks like it's pushing higher, though, holding its ground well. It's still a little off the high from yesterday where it jumped up to 165. That's a big resistance, but I love the way ARM's setting up here for a possible run into the afternoon. It's one of the stronger stocks of the day for sure. And they had that good news as well. Yeah, ARM had pretty good news. Making their own CPU chips. I had it somewhere here. Let me... Yeah, I'm loving the way that they're moving there. Here's the news. They jumped 16% the other day as they expect a revenue windfall from their new chip. A significant shift. Came out with a CPU chip in development with Meta and ASIC. They said ASIC GPUs. Wait, hang on. Let me go look. ASIC, what do they call that? They have to mention Meta in here, don't they? There we go. Meta is the first customer of this chip, and it was developed with them as well. And also with other ASIC companies. I didn't like their reporting there, but the stock itself getting a little choppy up around the high of the day, but it's going to probably chop before it pops. Tesla is unfortunately rejecting here at 384, or fortunately if you're a put player, but I love the way it's pulling back there. Same with the SPY at 655. It got close to my resistance on the intraday chart. There's a big zone of resistance here between like 654.20 to 655. I would not be surprised if SPY turned over slightly here. This is a weird setup with SPY. Holding 650 support. Very strong level. But will we flush today and break it at some point? One headline. One Truth Social post. One word from Trump could change it all. Tangy needs a new pair of Adidas. Speaking of that, how's Nike? 0.68%. Bouncing a little bit. All right, Nike. Let those hedges print. SPXS to beat 4110 tomorrow. Let's see. Wow, you're going to need some news to hit Tangy, I have a feeling. The good thing is I think you're there. Can't sell. Small account. And I get goobered and get a PDT restriction. Oh, it's on a small account for you, Tangy? We don't want to get PDT'd now, do we? Tangy can't sell it. You can sell it tomorrow, though, right? I thought that was funny too, Mason. Gosh, I hate how on opening day, Mason, there's all these day games. Like the Cardinals play today, like right when we would record the video. Stuff's annoying. You're back on March Madness? What? Ew. I'm done with that. Now I'm all about baseball. Yeah, you're right. There's just about everything. Basketball going on too. Like, sorry, NBA is what I meant. You're probably excited about Illinois tonight is what it is. 384 on Tesla. Held up very strongly as resistance. Tesla is in the chop zone right now. That's the definition of chop. Nvidia is sliding off and fading lower here. Fading lower. You can see the fade here of lower highs hitting. It's a pretty big fade back down. Can you all believe that all 4 of my interns are still alive and employed nearly 2 months now? Wow. There you go, Tangi. That sounds like something rare. Circle. Uh-oh. More like the circle of death. Down 5% again. Circling to the downside. Spiraling. Looks like it might get a big secondary leg. Watch Circle. This is not good. Yeah, it is going to be the best one tonight, I have a feeling. At least the most anticipated one. Texas and Purdue will be interesting because if Texas wins, it'll be like, whoa. We've got a 11 seed going to the Elite 8 and then maybe Final Four even. Circle really spiraling though. Keep your eyes on them. Nvidia pulled back hard. For those of you just now joining up, there's been a lot of Iran updates this morning. A whole lot. It sounds like though, from everything that I've gathered today, that Iran still doesn't have this going on. They still do not want to have negotiations right now. They said that the U.S. plans were unrealistic. Negotiations were unrealistic at this point. Iran's parliament speaker on X said, Hezbollah, the pride of Islam, and know that a stockpile of surprises is coming your way. So wait for it, he said. Hezbollah, the pride of Islam, and you know that a stockpile of surprises is coming your way. That doesn't sound good. That was a new update. SPY right at resistance. SPY doesn't seem to care too much about the situation today. But just watch out on SPY. We're at resistance and we're at the gap from this morning. This is a big resistance zone. JP Morgan just said investors are shifting back to cash. SPY's having a lot of trouble here. For those of you that are put players out there, I know there's probably a lot of people trying to scalp it down off of this range. Some people they've already hit it and are taking profits now, actually. That's how quick some of these people scalp, but keep your eyes here for a larger move, maybe a larger pullback to start to hit. Nvidia has been very weak today, still flushing lower. Down around its low of the day. Sorry, guys. Getting asked questions here. 654 seems like it's building some support, Mason said. Let's see. They love 654, but hate 654.50. Yeah. It might end up breaking through here at some point. The one thing I'll really be watching for is just that, where that gap is. Up to like even 655.50. The unfortunate part about SPY in this zone is just how choppy this zone has been. Like, if we look at SPY objectively, I mean, so much chop. This is just straight up what we call the chop zone, you know? So much back and forth. Now, once it gets away from these zones, it starts to move well again, but when it's in there, it's been pretty hard. Yesterday was 30 degrees. Today it's 60. I love New England. That's how it was for me a few weeks ago. ARM keeps it going. Love it. Let's go, Jay Palma. ARM 162.50. That's what we want to see. Definition of chop, yep. It really is. There we go, ARM. More good action. 1 minute candle still pushing up towards the high from yesterday, 165, coming into play. Boom, love it with ARM. We might be pushing back up to the upper end of its range, 184 to 188. What a good move, ARM. Keep watching it. It's been one of the better watchers today. Of course, everything else is kind of boring, right? Holy Apple, though. I didn't see Apple. An apple a day keeps the margin away. 256 coming up with Apple. I'm just kidding. Apple's been pretty rough lately. Holding its support zone, though, in a really good way. Bouncing higher, 255. 256 coming up, I mean. 5-minute chart. It broke through 255, which is a good breakout here this morning. Wow. Let's keep it going. Love it, ARM. ARM pushed Apple to the moon. What's up with all the moons today? You guys. Trump's holding a cabinet meeting right now, I see. Do you guys want to turn on Trump's cabinet meeting for a minute? Whenever it comes on, what do we think? I just got an email that my daughter's trying to download stuff on her tablet. I'm like, oh no. Amazon said there's a download request coming. I'm like, oh gosh. She's trying to play that game, Slither. Guys, she's 3 years old. Oh, 2.5 years old. Out here trying to play Slither the game. How about QQQ? Man, what a big pullback on QQQ. 583. Nice support zone underneath there. Tesla holding 381 for now, but still chopping lower. SPY stuck in the chop zone at the high of the day. That is huge. Robux. Oh my gosh, I have not heard about Robux in a long time. I don't even want to know what Robux are getting used for nowadays, though, with everything I've been hearing. Oh gosh. Roblox down to $54.50. $55 support sitting here. They just continue to slide off. Roblox has been the center of attention in a bad way coming into 2026. They were actually doing really good until this point. Back to ARM. Pulled back a little bit at the high of the day. It quit that massive intraday run, but that was a good intraday run that it had there for a few minutes. For about 30 minutes or so. Hell yeah, Elite. Hell yeah. You know, I grew up playing like Gary's Mod and all these different things that was kind of like Roblox or like RuneScape and, you know, things like where you could go talk to people on there and stuff. And the thing that I've realized is that nowadays, the way that things get really weird is that I've seen a lot of people getting on, like, let's say, Snapchat, right? A lot of these weirdos will, like, get these kids to, like, add them on Snapchat and stuff, which is where it gets weird. Like, when I was growing up playing these things, hell, Facebook and, what was the other one? MySpace were, like, the only things around. And you'd be damned if you were 8 years old and had a Facebook when that first came out. I don't know about you guys, but my parents were like, hell no. I will say, though, I don't know how many kids are out there playing Counter-Strike in the 2nd grade like I was, but... Did you see the OnlyFans founder died? No, I did not. Elite says, I still play Gmod Prop Hunt every Friday with my buddies. Shit is the best. I love watching videos from people who play, like, the RP, like Zimmery and people like that. But I haven't played it in a long time, but man, that game used to be pretty good. I was always more of just a straight up Counter-Strike fan though, but Counter-Strike Source, by the way. You own Gmod, you just don't play it. Yeah, me too. That'd be fun, though. I might have to hit you up one Friday night. Who knows, Elite? $381 might break down here on Tessie. Bank of America. In a weird pattern here. Look at this bottom trend line. It's almost wedging where it is right now. Strange pattern. Figured I'd go check on some banks. We haven't really looked in on them yet today. Not really doing much, of course. No surprise there. How about cruise lines or airlines? CCL, AAL, UAL. The airlines have been popping up from open, but not really in the way that I'd love. Speaking of love, Southwest is down in the dumps a little bit itself. Oh gosh, Elite used to make cheats for CS. Yeah. I may or may not have used them. I used to play a couple, my most played game on like those older games like that was Day of Defeat Source. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that, but it's like World War II version of Counter-Strike Source. They came out like at the same time. It was my favorite game though. He said it was HVH. I'll tell you what, if you ever used any of those, for those of you who use those, you'll start to realize how many people in those lobbies actually have those too. It's pretty insane. I only ever did walls, but you know, again, I was like 12, 13 years old, so it's Tesla 381 holding up. Bank of America stuck. Back to SPY we go. Wow. SPY's starting to upset me, I'm going to be honest. Apple going back to them. There we go. 256.38. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, guys. Apple's ripping.
We've really done tremendous damage to the places where they make them. And just so we set the record straight, because I've been watching the Wall Street Journal's fake news and all these stories that get printed like, oh, I want to make a deal. They are begging to make a deal, not me. They're begging to make a deal. And anybody that saw what was happening over there would understand why they want to make a deal. But they say, oh, we're not talking to them. Anybody would know that. And only a total fool. And they're not fools. They're very smart, actually, in a certain way. And they're great negotiators. I say they're lousy fighters, but they're great negotiators. They are begging to work out a deal. I don't know if we'll be able to do that. I don't know if we're willing to do that. They should have done that 4 weeks ago. They should have done it 2 years ago. Or they should have done it when we first came into office, because 2 years ago they had free reign under Biden. Sleepy Joe, worst president in the history of our country. What he allowed to happen to our country at the borders, and even with a thing like this. But not just him. Every president for 47 years, every president should have done this. They should have done it a long time ago, because you cannot give lunatics a nuclear weapon, and they would have had a big one. It stopped, really, when we did the B-2, but even before that, the Barack Hussein Obama, what he did where he gave them the Iran nuclear deal, gave them free will toward a nuclear weapon. Basically, he chose Iran over Israel and others that didn't want him to do it. But I terminated that deal. Had I not terminated that deal, you would have had a nuclear weapon years ago, and it would have been used, guaranteed. And one of the reasons you know about the guarantee is because their neighbors were sort of like bystanders. They weren't involved very much. They didn't choose heavy sides. They didn't want to, because people were concerned with Iran. There was a big black cloud over the Middle East. They were concerned, but all of a sudden the war starts, and they start shooting at these five, in particular, five countries. They start shooting at Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Oman. They start shooting at them, and everybody was shocked, including us. You know why? Because they're sick, and they had a plan to take over the Middle East. And some of those missiles that were shot at them were locked long before we even started this process. They were locked and loaded and aimed at those countries. They wanted to take over the Middle East, but we happened to come along, so it wasn't so easy. So right now their navy is sunk in the largest elimination of a foreign navy that has taken place, maybe ever, but certainly since World War II. Their Air Force is gone. Their anti-aircraft and communications capabilities are totally dismantled. And one of the problems they do have when they deal with us is we deal with people, and the people aren't able to communicate with anybody else. So, you know, because all of their leadership has been gone. The first level is gone, and they met to pick a new level, and they're gone. They're all gone because they didn't make a deal, and because they're sick people. They're really sick. They're really sinister, sick people. And if anybody thinks it was okay to have a group of people like this to have nuclear capability, nuclear weapons, and if we didn't attack with the B-2 bombers, they would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks of that, maybe 4 weeks. But between 2 and 4 weeks, they were planning to have a nuclear weapon. If we didn't hit them at that time with the B-2 bombers, and one of the great air raids in history, maybe the greatest, dark at night, no moon, no light, every single bomb hit its mark and just obliterated that place. So it's now buried deep under earth. And it was an amazing thing, but they would have a nuclear, and they would have used it without question. And you know that because why did they shoot all these countries that weren't even really involved with them? They weren't involved. They had no big problems because they're sick, because they want to take over the Middle East, not just Israel. Certainly Israel would have been the first on their list. They would have used nuclear weapons, a nuclear, you don't need too many of them, but they would have used a nuclear weapon on Israel, and they would have used it on the neighbors, and then they would have come after us. And if we had a weak president, they would have done great damage. But fortunately, you don't have a weak president. I knew what was happening. And I think we've been proven right. You know, they took one missile, went 2,500 miles. They supposedly didn't have a missile like that. They had no missile with that capability. But they shot the now famous Ireland, the island that the UK was very afraid to give us because they didn't want to get dragged in. But we don't want to get dragged into their wars either. You know? It's one thing, we're very disappointed. I'll say it publicly. We're very disappointed with NATO because NATO has done absolutely nothing. And I've always said, 25 years ago, I mean, I was somebody that wasn't a politician, but I was always involved in politics and I understood politics. I said 25 years ago that NATO's a paper tiger, but more importantly, that we'll come to their rescue, but they will never come to ours. And I want you to remember that we said this. They didn't come to our rescue. Now they all want to help. When they're annihilated, the other side is annihilated, they said, we'd love to send ships. They actually made a statement, a couple of them, that we want to get involved when the war's over. No, it's supposed to get involved when the war's beginning, or even before it begins. We had the UK say that we'll send, this is 3 weeks ago, we'll send our aircraft carriers, which aren't the best aircraft carriers, by the way. They're toys compared to what we have. But we'll send our aircraft carrier when the war is over. I said, oh, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. Don't bother. We don't need it. And we don't need it, and we don't need them. We estimated it would take approximately 4 to 6 weeks to achieve our mission, and we're way ahead of schedule. If you look at what we've done in terms of the destruction of that country, I mean, we're way ahead. Think of it. They have no navy, and they had good ships. 154 ships have been shot down and are resting very nicely at the bottom of the sea. And we did that in a matter of less than a week. Because we have the greatest military in the world by far, nobody even close. So we estimated it would take approximately 4 to 6 weeks. to achieve our mission. 26 days in, we're really a lot ahead of schedule. The Iranian regime is now admitting to itself that they have been decisively defeated. They're saying to people, this is a disaster. They know it. That's why they're talking to us. They wouldn't talk otherwise. But they're talking to us because they've got a disaster in their hands. They're defeated. They can't make a comeback. We're free to roam over their cities and towns and destroy all of their crazy nuclear weapons and missiles and drones that they're building. And we're doing that. They now have a chance to make a deal, but that's up to them. And they'll tell you, we're not negotiating. We will not negotiate. Of course they're negotiating. They've been obliterated. Who wouldn't negotiate? They are begging to make a deal. We'll see if we can make the right deal. And if they make the right deal, then the strait will open up. Hormuz Strait will open up. And even now, we don't know if there are any mines. You know, they have 22 they call mine droppers. Think of it. Who would have 22 mine droppers? There's a boat that drops mines. Who has 22 mine droppers? Except for people with very evil intention. So every one of those mine droppers has been struck with the same weapon we used to stop drugs from coming into the United States of America. When we hit those boats, it's the exact same weapon, extremely effective. We have unlimited supplies and extremely effective. But they have no more mine droppers. By the way, speaking of drugs, we're 98% down drugs coming in by water, by the ocean, by the sea. 98%. And we're trying to find out who are the 2% because we think they're the bravest men anywhere in the world. Maybe women. But whoever's on those boats is very brave or doesn't watch television. But where drugs coming in by sea, coming in by water, are 98% down. And now we'll stop the drugs coming in by land. The land is the easy one. You had to stop the water. A lot of it came in through the water. Now it's all pinched. And these people are trying to come in by land. And we will, that's it, that's the easy one. But we had to take care of the water first. Nobody's coming in. Virtually nothing is coming in anymore. It was hundreds of millions of dollars a week were coming in by water. But they now have the chance, that is Iran, to permanently abandon their nuclear ambitions and to chart a new path forward. We'll see if they want to do it. If they don't, we're their worst nightmare. In the meantime, we'll just keep blowing them away, unimpeded, unstopped. Well, there's not a thing they can do about it. They can't do anything about it, you know? I tell you, if they could, you'd be hearing about it. You'd be hearing about it. You don't hear anything about it. They can't shoot our jets. We have the best military equipment in the world, not even a contest. And you see that with Venezuela. They had other equipment, they didn't have ours, it didn't work. Didn't work. Think of it, we did the situation in Venezuela. It was a great military operation, getting a very, very dangerous man who's killed a lot of people, forced people into our country. Incredible. He emptied his prisons in Venezuela, emptied his prisons into our country, and I hope that charge will be brought at some point, because that was a big charge that hasn't been brought yet. It should be brought. He emptied his prisons into our country and was a major purveyor of drugs coming into our country. And he's now been captured and, I guess be given a fair trial. But I would imagine there are other trials coming because they've really sued him just in a fraction of the kind of things that he's done. Other cases are going to be brought, as you probably know. In the meantime, with Iran, we're going to keep doing what we've been doing, and nobody's a match for the United States, but they're not a match for the United States. It's small potatoes. That's why I'm so disappointed in NATO, because this was a test for NATO. This was a test. You can help us. You don't have to, but if you don't if you don't do that, we're going to remember. Just remember this in a number of months from now. Remember my statements. They have an expression, a great expression, never forget. Never forget. So as we end threats to America abroad, we're focused here at home on building the greatest economy in the history of the world. Now, before this started, the Dow hit 50,000. The S&P hit 7,000. Both of those achievements were not achievable. Every one of you, most of you, I guess, said you'll never hit 50,000 during a 4-year period because it was too high a number. Well, we hit it in our first year. And I said, well, now we have to take an excursion to Iran, and we have to stop this maniac who's no longer with us. The supreme leader wasn't so supreme, no longer with us. It's very sad. But we have to stop him from blowing up the world, blowing up the Middle East, and blowing up our country, and we did that. And frankly, I thought the oil prices would go up more, and I thought the stock market would go down more. Hasn't been nearly as severe as I thought. I think they have confidence in maybe the American president and maybe the people sitting around this table. But Americans filing their taxes this year are receiving record-setting refunds. It's been a very big story. Well, it should be a big story. I don't think you read about it that much, but I speak about it. You know, I speak about it because if I speak about it, at least people hear. You don't write about it. You don't write about the drug prices going down. It'll be going down 30, 40, 50, 60%, 70%. Favored nations, called most favored nations, we're going to be paying the lowest price anywhere in the world. Before we paid the highest price in the world, Bobby, right? And now we're going to pay the lowest price in the world. That's quite a difference. It's a difference of from 40 to 70 and 80 and even 90%. That's a pretty big difference. But we're slashing regulations, and investment is pouring in from all over the world. We have the most investment of any country in history has been put into our country in the last year. And again, we had to take a little detour. Won't be long. Going to end soon. We had to take a little detour, go to Iran, and we had to put out a fire. Very dangerous fire that could have blown up big portions of the world, if not the whole thing. So tomorrow we'll be announcing a variety of actions that we're taking to support American farmers, who we never forget. We love the farmers. We gave them $12 billion out of tariff money. We had a tremendous amount of tariff money come in, and we continue to have. We've gone, as you know, the Supreme Court gave us a very unfortunate, foolish ruling, a ruling that gives the people that have ripped off our country for many years, gives them some money back. But it's one of those things. It's a terrible, terrible, horrible mistake they made, but it's okay because we have another method that's just as good. We'll use the other method. But because the tariff money has been so substantial, we gave our farmers, who have been mistreated by some countries, we gave them $12 billion, and they're extremely happy, and they deserve it. They've been great. They never complain. They just go out and they farm, and they wouldn't do anything different. They wouldn't trade jobs with any of you, except maybe some of the fake media. I don't know. Somehow I don't see that. I like their job better, actually. I love the farmers. So we gave them $12 billion. So in just a few moments, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent will discuss the actions that we're taking to address energy prices, which have not gone up as much as I thought, Scott, to be honest with you. And, you know, it's not over, so maybe it'll go up a little bit more. It's all going to come back down to where it was, and probably lower. And my predictions have been right. Trump was right about everything. They have a new hat. Trump was right about everything. It's pretty right. But Scott's going to address that. And I think before we go very much further, I want to ask Vice President J.D. Vance to say a few words about where we are with the situation he's involved with Steve and with Jared on negotiations. And then some of the others will speak. We'll have Marco say a few words. Pete Hegseth, who was born for this role. I mean, he's doing a great job. They gave him a hard time. And now people, I'll tell you, somebody came up to me yesterday, gave you a very hard time, said, you know, I made a mistake. Pete Hegseth is doing a good job. Thank you, sir. So when I tell you who, you're not even going to believe it. He said, Hegseth, he gave you such a nasty hard time. But you're doing great. And then Steve is going to speak, and Scott will speak last. And if we have any questions, we'll take some questions. You may have questions. I doubt it, but you may have some. So, JD, please.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you. It's good to see everybody. Proud to be part of this team. Proud to be serving the president of the country. Let me just say a couple things. The first of all is the president summarized this very ably. But look, the Iranian conventional military is effectively destroyed. They don't have a navy. They don't have the ability to hit us like they could have even a few weeks ago. And what that does is that gives us options, Mr. President. Now, there's been a lot of reporting about diplomatic options, about negotiations. There's, of course, Pete and his team. There are further military options. But what we have now that we didn't have when the president took over just a little over a year ago is the ability to use every tool at our disposal to ensure that Iran doesn't get a nuclear weapon. Because when I say options, I think it's important the American people know options for what? And it's options to ensure that Iran never has a nuclear weapon. You talk about people who walk into a crowded supermarket and have a vest on, and they blow up the vest and a couple of people get killed, and that's a terrible tragedy. What happens when what's on the vest is not something that can kill a couple of people, but can kill many, many tens of thousands of people? That is the most important American national security objective that exists for any administration at any time, is you don't want the worst people in the world to have a nuclear weapon. That's why the president is doing this. That's why the president cares so much about this particular issue. I'll let Steve talk a little bit about the details of the negotiation, but the last thing I'll say before I turn it over to Marco is I'm very mindful, of course, that we have a lot of folks overseas fighting very ably for the United States of America. I know Pete and the whole team, we're very proud of them, but they're fighting at a time where we are about to enter as Christians the most important week of the Christian calendar, the Holy Week that celebrates the return of Jesus Christ to Jerusalem. And so I want to say to all of my fellow American Christians, but particularly those serving in the Gulf, that I wish you all a very blessed Easter, a very blessed Holy Week, and we continue to stand behind you and continue to support you every step of the way. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Marco?
The most important job any president has is to keep the American people safe. And every president says it, but we have a president that means it and does something about it. As the president outlined very clearly to the world on the night this operation began, Iran has been at war with the United States for 47 years. For 47 years, Iran has been killing Americans and attacking Americans across this planet. And other presidents had an opportunity to do something about it. And they all warned about how Iran was dangerous, but they refused to act. And this president's not someone that's going to refuse to act. He's not going to leave a danger like this in place. He's going to address it, and that is what he is doing. From the very first night of this operation, the president made it very clear. People like this, and now what I'm talking about is not the people of Iran. The people that run this country are radical Shia clerics. These are religious fanatics. Look what they are doing now. At their weakest point, this is the weakest Iran has ever been, and look at what they're doing. They're attacking embassies. They're attacking hotels. Imagine what these people would do if they had a nuclear weapon. That is an unacceptable risk for the world. By the way, the president's not just doing a favor to the United States and to our people. This is for the world. He defined very clearly on the first night of this operation what the goal was. We were going to destroy Iran's navy, and that is happening. We were going to, if it hasn't already happened, I'll let Pete speak to the specifics of it. We were going to destroy their missile launching capabilities. We're well on our way to achieving that goal. We were going to destroy the factories so they couldn't make more missiles and more drones, and that is moving forward. Every single objective the president clearly laid out on the first night of this operation is being effectuated. Again, Pete will speak to the specifics of it. This has been an incredibly successful operation. Every day, it may not get covered because, you know, we're unlike them. We're not bombing embassies and hotels. We're hitting military targets. But every day, the Department of War lets the drummer get wicked over every portion of Iran that has these military capabilities, and the results are going to bear fruit for the world. The world is going to be a safer and a better place when President Trump's mission here is achieved. And frankly, I think countries around the world, even those that are out there complaining about this a little bit, should actually be grateful that the United States has a president that's willing to confront a threat like this and not allow it to continue to persist. Because these people will kill as many Americans as they have a chance to do, and if they have a nuclear weapon, as the Vice President pointed out, they could kill millions of Americans in the future, and that is a risk that was not going to continue to exist as long as we had this president.
Thank you, Marco. You know, it's very interesting because yesterday I was watching, is it Anthony Blinken? And he was saying that they should have done it. But they didn't do it. Nobody did it. Nobody did it. For 47 years, Marco, that's the number, 47. I guess now it's 48, because we've been saying 47 for a long time. It's probably 48. But for 47, 48 years, every president should have done this. And some are saying now that they made a big mistake in not doing it, but we're taking care of business. Steve Witkoff, please.
Mr. President, it is my distinct honor to be a member of your cabinet and to report to you and your team on our negotiations with Iran. Mr. President, you directed Jared and I to pursue a diplomatic resolution with Iran prior to Operation Epic Fury, which we did. However, it became quite clear during these meetings with the Iranian negotiating team that we could not make a deal that fulfilled your objectives of the following: no enrichment whatsoever, no chance of weaponizing whatsoever, decommissioning of Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan, which you destroyed in Operation Midnight Hammer, no stockpiling of any material, which they flagrantly had violated, turning all enriched material over to us, and a cutback in Iran's missile inventory and range capability of those same missiles. Throughout our meetings with the Iranians, we heard the following from them. The Iranians have the inalienable right to enrich. Then we heard they possessed enough 60% enriched material, 460 kilograms, to make 11 atomic bombs. Finally, we heard the following statement. They would not give up diplomatically what we could not win militarily. In other words, they were again miscalculating the success of Midnight Hammer, which was a total success. These are incontrovertible signs, among many other signs, sir, that their regime had not given their negotiating team authority to make a deal required by you. We conferred with you and all the other members of your foreign policy team, Susie Wiles, Pete Hegseth, the chairman, Marco Rubio, JD, Scott Bessent, Chris Wright, John Radcliffe, throughout all of these negotiations, and we were repeatedly rebuffed on everything we asked for. I have no doubt that we exhausted all efforts on behalf of a peaceful resolution, as you directed. Jared and I both agreed that the Iranians were there to buy time until a weaker president arrived. This was a flawed strategy, as your clear direction was to never allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon today or any time in the future. Against that backdrop, and our compelling military successes in Epic Fury, we have had multiple reach-outs from the region and others who want to play a role in ending this conflict peacefully. I can report to you today that we have, along with your foreign policy team, presented a 15-point action list that forms the framework for a peace deal. This has been circulated through the Pakistani government, acting as the mediator. And this has resulted in strong and positive messaging in talks, as you just indicated to the press. But these are sensitive diplomatic discussions, and you have directed us to maintain confidentiality on the specific terms and not negotiate through the news media as others do. I can say this: we will see where things lead, and if we can convince Iran that this is the inflection point with no good alternatives for them other than more death and destruction. We have strong signs that this is a possibility, and if a deal happens, it will be great for the country of Iran, for the entire region, and the world at large. Your policy of peace through strength is the most effective tool for a diplomatic resolution here, just as this policy was an effective tool in each and every one of all of the other conflicts you settled in your first year. Iran is looking for an off-ramp following your powerful threat on Saturday. Your indications that you are willing to listen to peace proposals have been well received. You have instructed us that your preference is always peace, and that we should make that our priority. We have delivered that message, sir, along with the 15 points for peace. Finally, we have told Iran one last thing. Don't miscalculate again.
Good. Thank you very much. Good job. Doing a great job. Everybody around this table is doing a great job. Pete Hegseth, please.
Mr. President. I'll start kind of where you left off, Mr. President. Thank you for doing the work of the free world and having the courage to step up and stop the Iranian terror regime from holding the world hostage. That's really what it is. And 27 days ago, Iran had a modern military. Never in recorded history has a nation's military been so quickly and effectively neutralized. Operation Epic Fury is not an endless war. It's a decisive campaign with clear objectives to destroy Iran's offensive military capabilities and ensure they never obtain a nuclear weapon. This is stuff for the history books. This is stuff for legacy. Mr. President, you are acting now to ensure future generations do not have to live under the threat of a nuclear-armed Iran. However, you wouldn't know it if you listened to the dishonest hate Trump media, as you referenced. The folks here in the room, these cameras, they have a choice. You're either informing the American people of the truth or you're not. Because I hear it from my people every day. Behind every headline you write, there's a helicopter crew in the air. And behind every news banner you write, there's a battalion on the move. And behind every fake news story, there's an F-35 pilot executing a dangerous mission. My message to the media is get it right. This actually isn't something new to me. I may be a young guy, Mr. President, but I'm not a rookie in this realm. In 2007, I helped lead the surge, the public fight for the Iraq surge. Stood and watched people stand in the Senate and declare the war is lost before it even started. Who was that? It was Harry Reid. That was the Democrats and the media working hand in glove. Back then, it was 3 years into a war. Now we're 3 weeks into an operation. But see, unlike Iraq, this isn't a tie. This is not parity. This is not chaos. This is success, pure American success, on plan, and as the president said, ahead of pace. Over 10,000 enemy targets destroyed, over 140, I think now you're right, Mr. President, over 150 naval vessels sunk, underground facilities destroyed, their defense industrial base in shambles, and overnight, not only do they not have a Navy, Mr. President, they no longer have a Navy commander. IRGC's Navy commander was killed overnight in operation. So no Navy leader. Now that here's the thing about the media, though. If President Trump had not acted, you'd be screaming, why not? And now that he has taken decisive action, you're asking, well, why did you? It's the same old tired playbook, TDS in your DNA. But the hardworking, God-fearing, patriotic Americans out there know better. And you alluded to this, President Obama, Mr. President. Here's a fact that you don't hear on your networks, but we know. Many of the Iranian military factories and bases that we're systematically destroying were paid for by the pallets of American cash that Barack Obama flew into Tehran under the Iran deal. You might call it an inconvenient truth. Iran took our money and turned it into weapons and bunkers and ammo. And now we're destroying those weapons, and you're writing, Mr. President, that grievous wrong. And make no mistake, we had to act. And our objectives are clear. No nukes, no Navy, and a complete dismantling of their missile program and defense industrial base. And as Marco pointed out, that mission, and the VP as well, has not changed since day one. Yet, 2 days ago, they shot 2 failed missiles on a target 4,000 kilometers away. For years, they told the world that their missiles could only range 2 kilometers. Surprise. Yet again, Iran lied. And to the world, I say London is 4,000 kilometers from Iran. Washington, D.C. is 3,300 kilometers from Venezuela, another country President Trump did something about that partnered for a long time with Iran. So you're telling us that Iran is not a threat to the world or to the U.S. President Trump knows better. And here's what success actually looks like right now. You mentioned it, Mr. President. A-10 Warthogs, if you know them, you love them, and Apache helicopter gunships are flying strike missions inside Iranian airspace and throughout the Strait of Hormuz at will. See, you only send these slow, low-flying, close air support platforms when the enemy has no meaningful air defenses left. Their presence is proof that Iran's air defenses are gone. Their command and control is shattered, their top leaders hiding in underground bunkers, while their mid-level commanders are being crushed in the field. The morale of their fighters plummeting, and we see that disconnect daily. They're privately admitting, as you said, Mr. President, very heavy losses. We know that. President Trump has given us a clear mission. Our capabilities are only going up and Iran's are plummeting. We are here to win, and we're full speed ahead. So, Steve, we appreciate your efforts. We pray for a deal, and we welcome a deal, and we have the ultimate deal maker to make it happen. But in the meantime, as I said yesterday, the Department of War will continue negotiating with bombs. War is negotiation by other means. And finally, I want to thank our incredible troops, our pilots, crews, sailors, refuelers, air defenders, the absolute best of America, the real 1% of our country. This president, President Trump, has your back. And I know this cabinet prays for you every single day. And we ask the American people to do the same as they continue in this mission. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's great. I think before I ask Scott to say a couple of words, it would be great if people like the mayor of Chicago and the governor of Illinois would say, please come in and stop the crime. A beautiful young lady was killed the other day, and the father was a very good friend of Dan Scavino. And he took it very hard. Dan took it very hard. Like the father, friends. They grew up together. And it's a young lady whose life would be saved if we did what we did as an example in Washington, D.C., which is now a safe city. All the time, people come up to me in the building, people that work here, they say, thank you so much. I know immediately what they're talking about. They're able to walk to work. They walk to work. You all walk to work. Some of you were mugged. I know you told me stories. Some of you were mugged. One person in particular was viciously mugged. In the group right here, it's not happening anymore. You have a safe city. Louisiana, the governor of Louisiana called me, can you help me with New Orleans? They just had the Mardi Gras. He said it was the safest Mardi Gras we've ever had. Sounds terrible to say. No murders. You know, it sounds like, who would say this? No murders, but they always had murders. They had a lot of crime during Mardi Gras. He said virtually no crime. We had the troops down there. Memphis, Tennessee, I just got back. We were there. Crime is down 75%. In a short period of time, we're there 5 months. We could do that for Chicago. We could do that for New York. We could do that for L.A. And we could do that for, frankly, San Francisco. I know they have a mayor who's trying very hard. He's a Democrat, but he's trying very hard. But we can do it much more effectively because he can't do what we do. He can't take people out from the city and bring them back to the country from where they came, where they were in prisons. They were allowed to go in prisons. There were drug dealers, the highest level drug dealers, murderers, 11,888 murders. We do things that they can't do. I had friends calling me up from San Francisco. Could you give him a chance? I said, absolutely. If you want him, we'll give him a chance. And he's trying. He's doing okay, but we could do much better. We could make it a lot safer than it is. San Francisco, a great city, was a great city, could quickly become a great city again. But, you know, they're going very slowly. I tell my friends they're very substantial people. They're in a certain business where people have made a lot of money. I hope that lasts. But they have a tremendous potential. It was one of the greatest cities in the world. Now it's got a lot of crime. And the mayor is really trying it. Again, a Democrat trying. And I spoke to him. He just wants to have a chance. And I said, we'll give you a chance. But we can solve it very quickly. This young lady would be around today if we were around, because we have nobody coming through our border. I mean, literally for 9 months, it's zero. It's hard to believe that that number can be possible because millions of people came in through Biden. But nobody even tries. We don't have the caravans of thousands, 25, 30,000 people pouring into our border. They come up in caravans. We don't have caravans anymore. There's no such thing anymore. There's a name that I think I developed, but somebody developed it, but I think it was me. I thought it was an appropriate name. Thousands of people would come up and just barge into our country, totally unchecked, totally unvetted. And this man came in, Dan, right? And he came in through the ridiculous open border of Biden. If we were there, the election was rigged, what are you going to do? Came back, big comeback. But if we were there, we wouldn't have had people coming through. It's amazing. You know, it's so easy now because everyone knows they're not getting through. We don't have any caravans. Once they know that, when it was easy to come through. When I heard that they had an open border policy, I said, boy, this is going to be, I couldn't believe it. But when it was actually, you know, it dawned on me because I had built 1,000 miles of wall and we were finishing up some and he didn't want to finish it up. I said, they really do want to have an open border. And we got it finished. But that young lady would be alive today. And she'd be alive for another reason, because we would have the National Guard in Chicago and in New York and in other places. And they love doing it. It's like training, to be honest. It's actually training. I never want to take them out of D.C. I mean, maybe somebody later on will do it, but I never want to take. You know, the people, they look, they say, we feel so good, we feel so safe. We see these beautiful, strong people, and they're so nice. They help. They open the doors for people. They carry bags. They pick up paper when they see paper on the ground. I looked at D.C. last night. I drove to make a speech, and I drove through, and I said, take me this way, take me that way. The city's clean. The fences are down. You don't have homeless all over your parks. I mean, we had parks. There was no room for anything else other than homeless. It's all clean and nice. And it'll be even more beautiful in a year from now. And we have some projects that are great. This ballroom is going to be something that's so beautiful for the city, so desperately needed by presidents. I mean, now it's no secret the military wanted it more than anybody. It was supposed to be secret, but it became unsecret because of people that are really unpatriotic saying things. But doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's going to be great. We're building an arc, a triumphal arc, which will be incredible for the city. Incredible. We're fixing up what was the Kennedy Center. You know, I was honored when the board changed the name a little bit. Actually, it shows that the Republican and the Democrats, they work together. It's really something we work together. I think it's a great symbol, actually. But we're doing a lot of work. That building is ready to fall down. It's in terrible shape. We're closing it. We're going to open it with a bang in less than 2 years. It'll come in under budget, ahead of schedule. That's what I do. It won't be like the Federal Reserve that's costing $4 billion or something thereabouts. Think of it, $4 billion. You know, it's amazing. I said to the group before, I said, everything I do, I get sued. I build under budget, ahead of schedule. I get sued over a ballroom that's going to be the most beautiful ballroom in the country, so desperately needed. You won't have to have tents sitting on the wet White House lawn. If it rains, you get wiped out, to honor the president of China or the president of France or the president of somewhere. You could have the greatest. We get sued by the National Trust for Historic Preservation. They don't know what they're doing. Then I just found out we got sued by that group and another group, I guess, on the fixing up of again, I'll use the old name, Kennedy Center, because they're not fixing up Trump Kennedy. It's going to be beautiful when you add the name Trump. But we got sued, and all I'm doing is fixing it up. We're fixing broken marble. We're putting on a roof because it leaks like a sieve. We're fixing steel that's broken. It's the same building, same exact building. We're fixing. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be so beautiful and safe. It's actually unsafe. You had some of those columns on the outside that were painted a fake gold. Now we painted them a beautiful white color, beautiful cream white. It's beautiful. Everyone said it's so much more beautiful now. Instead of a cheap, you can't imitate gold. See, I'm a gold person. It's all real stuff. You can't imitate it. Someday they'll discover a paint that will look like gold, and the guy's going to be the richest man in the world. But you can't imitate real gold. It just doesn't. That's 24 karat, which is what this building deserves. But think of it. I get sued because I'm fixing up the Trump Kennedy Center. We're going to make it gorgeous and safe. We're fixing new windows, new this, but just all fix up. I got sued by preservationists. But you know who they didn't sue? The man that took this beautiful Federal Reserve building. That's small, much smaller than the hotel I built. I built the Waldorf Astoria Hotel down the road. And it was a beautiful job for $201 million. It's bigger, I think, than the Federal Reserve building. And it's got rooms and bathrooms, and it's not like just an open office space, which is much cheaper to build. Think of this. I hear he's going to be over $4 billion for a little building. He doesn't get sued by anybody but me. I sue because it's either somebody's very crooked, which has to be, because what happened to all that money? You can't sue. I would have done that building for $25 million. It's going to cost maybe
All right.
billion.
We are going to cut it off there for now. That is quite the move here, though, with SPY as Trump was speaking at first. We saw SPY start to really dip to the downside. Oh, I had the same exact thought, Tangy, man. All over the place today. Initially, we heard a lot of war updates and the SPY started dropping, as it seems like a deal with Iran is just not going to be coming to the table here or coming to fruition, however you wanted to say it. But it seems a bit more negative than it does positive for sure. The SPY reflects that in its overall price action following Trump starting to speak. Of course, there might be some updates coming as Bessent and maybe a couple others still speak at the cabinet meeting. I know Trump said something about Bessent making another announcement, so potentially watch out for that. But yeah, over that period, the SPY, very slow. It had that good initial move, and then after the war talk stopped and Trump just kind of started rambling on, we just saw the SPY go flat. So keep your eyes on the SPY as this cabinet meeting evolves and goes on. We might see a bigger move come into play as time goes forward today. Keep your eyes on 650 if you're watching SPY, though. That is going to be the biggest level to watch for as we navigate the trading day on this Thursday here. Lots of baseball games are going to be coming on today, so be ready for that. I'll be watching some replays later tonight, that's for sure. SPY trying to hold up there. Tesla rejecting back down towards 378 now, back under 380. Not the best move that you want to see there with good old Tessie. Might see it start to play out better, though. That is at 560. META, $560. Wow, what a drop by Meta there. What a massive pullback. Meta is at the center of a lawsuit here. Meta and YouTube, which is Google, G-O-O-G-L. Both having a little bit of negativity today. Meta, though, selling off a lot harder. Definitely a lot harder. Crazy day, though, for the stock market. Seriously. A lot of up and down with the SPY again. What's new? How often has this happened recently? Quite a bit. Quite a bit. But alrighty, guys. We're probably going to go ahead and call the stream there. Yeah, I think so, Tangi. At least in the short term, right? With how much Meta has popped up, too, into this year, I'm not surprised. Or sorry, into 2025. They had that great move back. If we zoom out on Meta's chart, they had that massive collapse in 2021, 2022, fell down by like 76%. Then Jim Cramer cried, and then Meta exploded up 797% in a few years. That is nuts. Meta is a volatile stock. Watch out. It'll probably fall like a rock here. It dropped under a big support zone. We also saw a recent uptrend give out with Meta, which is a big negative. Now that that gave out, watch out. We'll probably see a drop down to around 480 to 500 if this news stays in the headlines, because that is a massive zone of support and the next major zone that Meta will come down to test. There is some support at 545 as well as at 530. So there's a couple more areas to watch on the way down as well. Wow, what a move. And it continues to bleed down here as well. Ooh, 480. Yeah, I think that we could see that. Yeah, as time goes forward. It seems far out, but with how much Meta moves and how quickly it can drop, I don't think it's that crazy or that out of the equation. But hell yeah, guys. Appreciate you joining up today. It's Thursday. We have the rest of the day today, and then tomorrow's the final day of the week. Be ready. There's not many earnings coming up. Carnival Cruise Lines. There are some Fed speakers this afternoon, and tomorrow Daily will speak at 11:30 a.m. Watch out for these Fed speakers tonight. We could see the market start to move a little bit if they start to say things about the economy or inflation or anything like that. But no problem, guys. Make smart trading decisions out there. Do not get caught in the chop. If you do, do not bag hold. The market can reverse and go crazy ways right now. Be careful bag holding. SPY looks weak. If you're looking for scalps today, watch for a move under 650. That can make for some interesting price action as we go forward. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're new. Other than that, though, I'll see you later. Stay profitable today.